Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation service that Yahweh has enjoined unto us. It is a great blessing that Yahweh has allowed us the understanding to know that we should come out of the Babylonian system of things and come to serve him the way that he had ordained, the way that the prophets served him, the way that Yahshua, the Christ, served him. It is a great honor and blessing for that to be given unto us, because there are a lot of people that truly do have some form of love for Yahweh and his holy and anointed son Yahshua, but they don't have the knowledge and understanding of how to show that love to their creator in the way that it should be displayed. So it is a great honor for us to have these things, and let us not take those things for granted, the things that have been given unto us. Oftentimes you'll find that the longer people have been in the word, the more desensitized they become to the word, and we just start dealing with things less and less genuine as time goes on. It's like when we first get a job, we show up on time. I mean, nobody's late for the first day of the job. You know what I'm saying? First day you get the job, we there at 7. They say you need to be here at 8 o'clock. We there at 7:58. And we sitting in the parking lot. We talking to the boss. We going, "Good morning, boss." We see him come in. We there before him. We get that job for about 6 months, and now we showing up at 1. Wait a minute, now it's time was 8 o'clock, bro. You 4 hours late. But as we get, more used to things, we become desensitized to how in the beginning that thing seems like a great blessing unto us, because we was hungry. We didn't have no designated place to stay. We didn't have no good income coming in, and then we got that job and it felt so good. We was there on time. But as soon as we got used to having a check, we don't show up on time no more. We do Yahweh the same way. We do Yahweh the same way. We come and we might keep a Sabbath, miss 3 or 4, and then keep another one. When Yahweh starts putting this weight on us, then we'll see. We're going to see then, and Yahweh is going to show and prove who is going to serve him in truth and in righteousness. Let's open up first with the oracles, brother.
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves. For love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received a gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Now it says that we should have fervent love among ourselves. And these are things that, we just knowing and keeping the Sabbath day does not cause you to do these things. Just because you kept the Sabbath don't mean you have fervent love among yourselves. See, we have gotten into a point where, just knowing that you Israel is not some kind of key to the kingdom. And we have to stop believing that we doing Yahweh some kind of favor by keeping the Sabbath day, by keeping his holy days. You're not doing Yahweh a favor. Yahweh did us a favor by allowing us to even know those things, because we was ignorant and happy. We didn't know nothing about this word, and we were just as happy, just as singing, full of glee, skibbity bop, doo 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 doo, and walking straight toward the lake of fire, and felt justified the whole time. And now Yahweh has opened these things up to us, and we have to take into consideration how we are going to deal with those things. And just like it says, how can a man love Yahweh, his Elohim, and then hate his brother, who is made after the similitude of Yahweh? Go ahead, brother.
Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love as the Mashiach also has loved us and has given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it not be what's named among you as becomes saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and have sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, indeed, and we do invite the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may read out of this great legacy and grow thereby. We must understand that the word is a spirit, and having that angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us is allowing that spirit of understanding to come amongst us so that we may grow when we do read. For there are many people that have read this book. There are many people that have dealt with this book for years and years and years, but their understanding has not been fruitful because they have not approached unto Yahweh the way that they're supposed to approach unto Yahweh. And Yahweh won't just add that spiritual understanding to people who don't know how to approach unto him. He said, things concerning my sons command you me. Well, you have to know how to do that. You don't just go and say, I'm going to holler at Yahweh and make him do something. No, I mean, you have to learn what that means. You can't just come at that any old kind of way. And that also means coming before Yahweh any old kind of way. There are many very emotional sisters that say that they truly believe in the Creator and say that they love Christ. But what they don't understand is you won't approach unto him with your glory hanging out. You're going to approach unto Christ the way that his Father set up for you to come unto him, which is in a dignified manner with a dress on, covering yourself, with a head covering on, covering your husband's glory. These things have to be done decently and in order. And this word describes what is decent and what is in order. The topic of today's sermon is the fruit of the Spirit. The title is the fruit of the Spirit. Now, we know that the Father is a spirit, and those that worship him must do so in truth and in spirit. If we have the Spirit, then let us walk in that Spirit and labor to bring forth of that Spirit. We are told that we should know them by their fruit. For a bad tree cannot bring forth good fruit, and a good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit. Let every man be convinced in his own heart what manner of tree he is going to be. Let us not become victims of the trinity of deceit. What I think, what I feel, and what I believe. Our own self-will has caused us to stray further and further away from the path that was laid before us. We must remember why we were kicked out of our land. Our own refusal to walk in righteousness caused the land to revolt against us, and it thrust us out. Flesh and blood cannot inherit that kingdom. So striving about who belongs to what tribe is of no consequence. He is not a Jew which is one outwardly, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly. So let us have circumcised hearts and become reborn of the Spirit, and let the branches of our deeds display the very fruit of that Spirit. Let's open up in Deuteronomy chapter 21. Now, don't take that out of context when it says, you know, he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. People will take that and say, well, you know, you don't have to dress like a Hebrew. Let me tell you something. You conduct yourself according to how you present yourself. There's a reason why when you go to the grown folk club, they said no white tees. Because them white tee dudes act like a fool. Them the dudes will be fighting in the parking lot. Say when you wearing your 9-later gators, you don't tend to fight when you got on your good stuff. So they's like, no, don't wear nothing but your good clothes here. See, this for the grown folk. See, then you very seldom find two people in silk suits grabbing on each other, wrestling. They'd be like, man, I'm mad with you, but we'll talk about it later. I'm not finna, this is linen. We ain't finna tear this up. Right? That's the reason why they have a dress code for grown club. And when you go to them teeny bopper clubs, they got the pants hanging down and they got on white tees. Guarantee you it's gonna be a fight. Right? They got testosterone, draws, and white tees shown. There's going to be a fight for that night over with. Right. There's a reason for the dress code. So don't think you're just doing something. You have to learn how to carry yourself like a Hebrew. And then you'll start to walk. It's a little bit more than just dressing. So don't take that out of context and mean that we're not supposed to, our outward appearance is not supposed to display that we are Hebrew Israelites. Deuteronomy chapter 21. And verse 1.
Verse 1. If one be found slain in the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known who hath slain him, then your elders and your judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city shall take an heifer, which hath not been wrought with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which is neither aired nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck there in the valley. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near. For them Yahweh thy Elohim hath chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of Yahweh, and by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried.
Right. Every controversy and every stroke shall be tried by the sons of Levi, which are the priests. Now, Yahweh first chose all of the firstborn that proceeded out the matrix is his. He later then chose all of the Levites to be his. And then later on, when Yahshua was chosen as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, that priesthood was then opened up, because we know that Yahshua was a Judite, but was our high priest, and then chose 12 disciples, also representing each one of those tribes, and they were all priests. So that set aside that Levitical priesthood and opened up that Melchizedek priesthood. So you have to deal with that, because a lot of people are saying, well, you can't keep, this holy days in this land because you have to have the Levitical priest to do such and such. What do you think Yahshua was? Yahshua was we're going to have to read about and deal with who Melchizedek as a priest was, so you can get this thing, because you have people out here teaching some things, and it shows, it says, the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for them Yahweh has chosen to minister unto him. See, this is what we have to understand. Yahweh has to choose a minister, and a minister is a servant. We have misunderstood by what people are saying and of what a minister is. Yahweh chooses his servant. So to just think that somebody can learn Yahweh's name and then go about teaching, that's not accurate. And it's why you have so many different doctrines floating about. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 6. And all the elders of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Be merciful, O Yahweh, unto your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, and lay not innocent blood unto your people of Israel's charge, and the blood shall be forgiven them.
All right, now this says, let's say, go up to verse 1. It says, if one be found slain in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you to possess it, laying in the field, and it be not known who have slain him. This whole thing is going about setting forth righteousness. Then the people have to declare, I have not seen it, and I don't know who did this. But we sit amongst, we have been in situations where people were spiritually slain, and everybody sat right around there and didn't say a thing. They had to say, my hands are clean of this blood. But look at what they said. Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Can we say that? Can you say, I didn't touch him and I didn't see it either? See, we have people that watch other people get done wrong and sit there and won't open their mouth and won't say a thing and say, I am innocent. Are you really? Go ahead.
Verse 9. So shall you put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you, when you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahweh.
Right, the guilt of innocent blood is already on you, because there was a dead body found in the land of Israel. Somebody killed him. Person just didn't up and grab the knife and slit his own throat. Somebody killed him. How he get there? So now that blood has caused some situations in the land. They got to cleanse that. See, when things go wrong, you have to take care of that. Go ahead.
When you goest forth to war against your enemies, and Yahweh thy Elohim had delivered them into thine hands, and you have taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that you wouldest have her to thy wife. Then you shall bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that you shall go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife.
Right. Now, why does it say you have to shave her head? That was her husband's glory. See, you got to remove the prior glory off of her head so that she can have a new glory. Now, notice now, it says that if within that war you see a beautiful woman, the women of Israel can't see no man from that war, because you supposed to kill them. So if she see a man and decide something, you ain't do your job, because them the ones you was supposed to kill. So if she see one of them neighboring men and say, I want to marry one of these men, that means one of y'all didn't do your job. Because that means that offspring is going to be what? Those people. See, it doesn't matter. If that man is Israel, that child going to be Israel. But if that father was something else, and Yahweh told us to kill them people off, and you didn't do your job, now you got a whole root of bitterness springing up, because you left one alive. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go whether she will. But you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not make her merchandise. You shall not make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her.
Now, in the new order of things, it asked when they asked that question to Yahshua, they said, "Why then did Moshe give us the decree to write a bill of divorce to our wives?" And he said, Moshe gave you that precept because of the hardness of your heart. But from the beginning it was not so, that there should ever be a thing called divorce. Go ahead.
If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn.
Now you'll find that Yahweh has a way of evening things out. when he see that people got that situation going on, that's why you'll find that Leah had all those kids. Yahweh has a way of evening things out. See? So to make sure that, you know, brother don't take that inheritance and give it to the son of the wife that he loved. Because remember now, Jacob was supposed to marry one sister. Then he get tricked into marrying the other sister. Now, Yahweh closed the sister of the one that he loved, that he truly loved. Yahweh closed that woman. And nah, you ain't getting no kids by her. I already know what you gonna do. No, buddy. No, because you gonna really hate this sister over here. So that ain't gonna happen. Let that sister have a whole bunch of kids. Then he was like, all right, she can have one. Go ahead. Hey, Yahweh got a way of evening things out. See? Yahweh like, no. Go ahead.
Verse 17. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn, by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For he is the beginning of his strength, the right of his firstborn is his. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that, when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them.
Now that gives you a whole layout. All right? If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastised him, will not hearken unto him, unto them. That means you done already tried to discipline this dude. Okay? You done already tried to deal with it. We do things and we ain't tried to discipline nobody. Now we want to hand them up and say, we done. These boys. No. There's a recipe for that. All of that means you have chastised him. You have showed him the way that he's supposed to go. You're supposed to go in that. Then you go to the next step. Go ahead.
Then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of this city shall stone him with stones that he die. So shall you put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear.
Apparently, they allowed abortions even if they was older. They said, I'm finna abort this 15-year-old right here. I am sick of this. And see now, Yahweh has taken that judgment, though, out of Israel's hand. Because Israel have a problem with judgment and dealing with things in that nature. So, when you deal with things like this, Yahweh ends up putting that judgment. See, man will think he doing something himself. And how? Man, Yahweh get in man's head and cause him to punish his own self. What did he do to Judas Iscariot? Didn't he go hang himself? Yeah, he went and killed his own self. Now, he don't realize that, but that was Yahweh's judgment. He think he did something. He thought he was doing something to us. Yeah, you was enacting judgment upon yourself for being wicked. And you committed the judgment upon yourself. Right, that's what Yahweh do. Instead of you putting your hands on him, somebody else do it. Right, judgment. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but you shall in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of Elohim, that your land be not defiled, which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth you for an inheritance.
This is why they was in a hurry to get him from off of that torture state. It says, for he was accursed for the children of Israel. So, even when you deal with the crucifixion, all the holy story, you're going to find that these things are even done according to what's written in this book. Yahweh's not just doing things just to be doing them. There's a method to the things that he's doing. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 5. And quite honestly, we have to start preparing ourselves and getting ourselves in a position to be kingdom ready. Because we ain't ready yet. Just keeping the Sabbath day does not make you ready to walk in that kingdom. Just because you keep the Sabbath day don't mean nothing. And we have to learn the difference between keeping the Sabbath day and showing up on the Sabbath day. Did you keep the Sabbath day or did you show up on the Sabbath day? That's a big difference, you know. Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 1.
Verse 1. For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. Who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way? For that he himself also is compassed with infirmity.
Now people don't like this. Now it says that even the natural high priest himself also is compassed with infirmity. But we have a situation where if we don't think the person's, this is what we do when we really don't want to follow anyway. We already got a root of bitterness in our heart. We look for some kind of flaw in the priest that would cause us to walk away from Yahweh's word. That's what we do. Go ahead.
And by reason hereof, he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins.
Right. So if he got to offer for himself for sins, that means, he had sins as well. But people will use that and say, well, he not perfect, so I'm not going to follow Yahweh's word. Right. You don't want to follow Yahweh's word to start with. Go ahead.
And no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron.
Right. So a man just can't find the name of Yahweh, laying down on the bus and say, I'm going to take up this name and I'm finna teach in it. Go ahead.
So also the Mashiach glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee.
Right. He didn't call himself to be a high priest. Go ahead.
As he saith also in another place, Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered.
And that's our problem. He learned obedience by the things which he suffered. We don't want to suffer nothing. Go ahead.
And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him.
And being made perfect. Go ahead.
Called of Elohim and high priest after the order of Melchizedek, of whom we have many things to say, and hard to be uttered, seeing you are dull of hearing. For when for the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat.
Right. For the time you ought to be teachers, now you have need for somebody to teach you. Go ahead.
For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe.
And we don't want to hear that. Go ahead.
But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
And that's the thing. When you talk about being a teacher, if somebody just hear this word from somebody, have you had your senses exercised enough to discern between good and evil? Have you had your senses exercised? See? Let's go to Hebrews chapter 7.
Chapter 7 and verse 1. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Elohim, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of Elohim, abideth a priest continually.
So there was already a priest before Abraham, which is the beginning of our holy family. So we already know that we talking about some things that ain't got nothing to do with flesh. This ain't got nothing to do with flesh here. Because the holy family ain't started yet, and he was already a priest. And he was a priest of Salem. Where's Salem? See, understand about, it says, let those things on earth be done as it is in heaven. The holy city is called what? Yeru, Salem. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils.
Mm-hmm.
And verily they that are of the sons of Levi, who receiveth the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is, of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham, and bless him that had the promises. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better.
Mm-hmm.
And here men that die receive tithes, but there he receiveth them, of whom it is witnessed that he liveth. And as I may so say, Levi also, who receiveth tithes, paid tithes in Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
Now that's deep. You paid tithes when you was a tickle in your daddy's pocket. What? So Yahweh deal on some levels that he ain't allowed us to deal. So don't think you dealing on his level. Don't think you can understand Yahweh's word the way he understands his word. That's why we pray for knowledge and understanding of what's written in this book. And the only understanding you're going to have is the understanding that Yahweh allows to give you. And he decides when he's going to move that up a level. You don't decide that. I don't care how much reading you do. You can read all night, but you still can't see. Go ahead, bro.
You know, it's interesting that you asked where's Salem, and the first thought is the play on words that we've had over the years with Salem. The only thing we hear associated by the world is witches.
Mm-hmm. Now that's funny, ain't it? But see, what we have, I've heard a brother that said, don't use the term Jew, brother, because it refers to Judaism, which is a wicked establishment. Now see, whenever people take something and misuse it, then we are told, or people want to make us believe that now we don't have to use it. That rainbow, Yahweh said, is a covenant, is a sign of the covenant. Other people have taken and said that it's the gay flag. So now I should stay away from anything that has a rainbow on it because of them. That's the adversary of the devil. I'm not going to stay away from Yahweh's sign of a covenant because it makes you feel uncomfortable because some other people do something else with it. That's your business. They ain't giving me low self-esteem. I know what my preference is. I know what my spiritual preference is too. So you ain't finna get me to walk away from Yahweh's sign of his covenant because somebody else did something else with it. So they said, well, these other people say Jew, and so you should come away from that term. You should come away from that term. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 11. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
Right.
For he of whom these things are spoken pertaineth to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar.
Right. Go ahead.
For it is evident that our Adonai sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moshe spake nothing concerning priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek, there ariseth another priest.
Now, you will find people talking about a priest after the order of Melchizedek and claim that it all of a sudden made null and void all kinds of laws of Yahweh. Anything that they didn't like, the order of Melchizedek wiped it away. Why? Because they know that a lot of people don't understand it. So they'll say that's changed by the order of Melchizedek. How? Where? They can't prove any of that. But that's what happens when you have people who have them itching ears and waiting to hear something new, and they get a hold of some person who hadn't sat up under a teacher, just heard a few words and went out there and went and decided that they're going to start working in the name of Yahshua and hadn't learned yet. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Who is made not after the law of a carnal commandment, but after the power of an endless life. For he testified, you art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
Mm-hmm.
For there is verily a disannulling of the commandment going before for the weakness and unprofitableness thereof. For the law made nothing perfect, but the bringing in of a better hope did, by the which we draw near unto Elohim. And inasmuch as not without an oath he was made priest. For those priests were made without an oath, but this with an oath by him that said unto him, the Adonai swear and will not repent, you art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
Right, by an oath. See, you have people that think that they're working for Yahweh, but what's your covenant? What covenant have you made with Yahweh? See, you not gonna be working for Yahweh without telling him what you're gonna do. And see, this is what men like to do. We want to be in charge of stuff without having the responsibility of it. See, it's real easy to call yourself a once a month Sabbath teacher. See, because you don't have the responsibility that you have to do it the next week and the next week and the next week. So you can just be a teacher whenever you want to be a teacher. That's convenient. But see, without making a covenant unto Yahweh, you ain't no servant of his. And this is what we want to do. This is why you got so many Facebook teachers and internet teachers. Because they can teach at their own will. They can do it how they want to do it. They ain't got to open up their house. They ain't got to open up their life. They don't have to say, I ain't going to go to work on this day. I'm going to take this day off my schedule and I'm going to make sure that I'm there every Sabbath to serve Yahweh. They ain't going to make that kind of dedication because they don't have a covenant. You can't serve Yahweh without a covenant. This whole book is based on covenants. Go ahead.
Verse 22. By so much was Yahshua made a surety of a better testament. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, because he continueth ever, hath an unchangeable priesthood. Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Elohim by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needeth not daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins, and then for the people's. For this he did once, when he offered up himself. For the law maketh men high priests which have infirmity, but the word of the oath, which was since the law, maketh the Son, who is consecrated forevermore.
Now the law maketh men priests who have infirmity. But we have to take things into consideration. Now, even as Yahweh chose Samuel as a child, he chose Samuel. He called him as a boy, but he made him learn under a priest. When he called Moshe out of Egypt, it took 40 years before he was ready to send him back in. When David was told he would be king, Yahweh made him earn what was already his. So it proves that his word is true, that every man must be instructed into the kingdom. But our pride will not allow us to be under any man. And we have this thing in us where we want to choose the type of man that we are under. Now, I've heard people say things about Samuel. And even now, we're talking Samuel was basically the first of the great, we're talking one of the greatest prophets in that whole era. But understand who he learned under. He learned under Eli. But what if people said, well, I'm going to examine this kind of man, and I don't know if I want, to sin. What if Samuel's mama say, I done heard bad things about you, Eli, so I ain't gonna send my boy to learn under you? What? There was bad things floating about Eli. Eli had done some wrong, but Yahweh was having him train that boy. So what if she decided with her own self-righteousness, I'm not gonna let my boy go over there to learn because I done heard bad things about you? Right. Now you're in a fight with Yahweh. See, we have to be careful about that own self-righteousness things, because Yahweh had that brother learning up until it was that time, because Yahweh already said he was going to cut off Eli. And what if you in your own self-righteousness say you're going to jump in there and you're going to, well, I ain't going to do this, such and such, because this don't approve of what I think, what I feel, and what I believe. Now you done let that trinity of deceit get you out of the line of what Yahweh was preparing you for. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, just to take a step further, not only, you know, what I've heard about you, what I've heard about people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me group you.
There you go.
To everybody that right. So-called call themselves something close to what you call mm-hmm. yourself. You know, and people like Absolutely. You, I can't listen to you because somebody that had a name similar to yours right. did this. So right. all of y'all must be like that.
Exactly. Like all y'all must be like that. And it was like that thing that we said in Bible study. People will make you responsible for everything that any other Hebrew Israelite has done. But I don't see anybody taking responsibility for everything that the Christians have done. I don't see anybody saying, man, we shouldn't have raped those little boys in the basement. They said, no, that didn't happen in my congregation. Well, wait a minute, he was a Christian, what? Well, when he go to church on the same day you go to church on? Well, then you must have did it too. No, that's not fair. Well, why are you doing it to me? They want to make us responsible for everything that they've ever heard bad about any Hebrew Israelite. You responsible for it. But you need to take that into consideration. Because it is written, all day long have my name been blasphemed through you. When the people say that you are the children of Israel, and then they see what we do. Then they see how we treat people. It don't do you no good to sit here and talk about the Sabbath, and then you gonna gnash at somebody and say all manner of evil against them. First thing they gonna say is, that's how Hebrew Israelites talk to people? So we have to get in there and figure out which part of that are you guilty of. Now people don't want to deal with the word because they done seen how you dealing with them or how you dealing with somebody else. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Now, did Yahshua discipline his disciples? Yes. Did he chastise them? Yes. But he dealt with them to make them better. Not to just tear them down. To take away that spot in their heart that was going to cause more problems. That's what he did. But that ain't what we want to hear. We want a good time preaching. We want a preacher that's going to tell us everything's going to be all right. Everything going to be nice. We want a big motivational speaker. And when we feeling down, we want to tell him where he going to lift us up at, and we'll throw an extra 50 in the pot if he does. Look here, I'm having problems in my relationship. They go 50. Make me feel good. Hey, I have a problem over here. They go extra 50. Make me feel good. Right. They do it because they're for hire. What you think a funeral is? They hired to go in there and do a job. They said he was a good man. Not the hell he wasn't. I know him. He was a dirty, low-down dog. Hell, he owed me money. I want to go over there and check his pockets. And you sitting up here telling all these good things about that evil man? Everybody in this room knew he was evil. But according to the hired hand up there, he up in heaven singing and dancing in the clouds. Right. 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 They done hired them a hitman to murder everybody in the room with them lies. Right. Go ahead, bro.
I just wanted to add to that, and a lot of times the person that they're talking about,